Hi everyone, welcome to DOdaily, Thursday Thoughts. Des here, of course, ready to get stuck into your questions. Of course, Thursday's episode is always live, so I'm being put on the spot with what you're throwing at me this week. Some really interesting questions, some good ones to really get stuck into. But as ever, I'll just start off by saying, if you're new to the channel, please give it a subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. It would help me. It's some of the targets I've got. And of course, after reaching 250 subscribers today, something I'm particularly pleased about, it's all about the push now to hit 500 by the end of the year. Real target I've set myself. So do it now. Hit that button in the corner. Please subscribe and help me try and get there. If you like the episode, give it a thumbs up. That takes 2 seconds. You can do it whilst you're watching. And again, it just helps me sort of spread the word about what I'm doing and what I'm trying to achieve through coming on live every day to just pass on my thoughts, pass on a few ideas of how it's working, how it's not working for me, and just to encourage people, a little gentle nudge at times to make some good decisions. And wherever possible, of course, I'll try and encourage my hobbies, passions, running, walking, and the activity to make us feel good. I keep saying it, but I believe there's a direct link between physical and mental health. And like I said yesterday, I know there is because it's worked so well for me. So I'll always encourage that. Of course, you can check me out on any of the social media, scrolling across the bottom at the moment. Whether it is DOdaily, Do Running, the running group I run, of course, or my own personal, please give me a follow and you'll be able to keep up with everything that I'm getting up to. As ever, working on several different things. And it's making me feel really good this week. Of course, I always, at the start of a Thursday episode, start to summarise where I am, take that into Friday and really sort of look back. But on a Thursday, just quickly summarise how it's gone. It's been a fantastic week, in all honesty. After that chaotic weekend of travel and getting stuck in a certain place and plans having to be readjusted because of Storm Eunice, in which I didn't get too upset by, whilst it was frustrating. It actually made me realise that I'm in quite a good place. So I come out of that Monday feeling great. Tuesday picked up that Great Northern place. Been doing a bit of extra work and got a real big job I needed to do, some accounts. Got that out of the way over the last couple of days. So that was important to do, important to get done. Spoke about the importance of doing the jobs you don't always want to do and getting them out of the way so you can move on to the good stuff. And I managed to do that, managed to take my own advice to some degree there yesterday and today, and got out there for a run again this evening, feel absolutely fine. Almost feels like I can take the pressure off a little bit. And that's what Thursday's quite often about. It's just taking the pressure off, answering what's thrown at me, getting stuck into that throwback, offering up another throwback, just inviting people to join in if they so want to. Already, Kieran's involved. Kieran, thanks for all the support as ever. Keep watching, stay tuned in. If you've got any questions, please pop them in. Please comment just like Kieran. I'll try and pop those up. Whilst this is kind of one way through my personal vlog, I will invite people to get involved. And of course, if you've got any questions, if you've got anything you want to add to the questions, please drop that in the comments and I'll read out as many as possible. But as ever, I'll get stuck into that throwback question from last week. Of course, the week started, sort of preempted it almost. The weekend and the week started talking about the weather quite a lot and how much it had sort of disrupted my plans. And last week, I thought it'd be a great way to sort of ask that throwback, what are your least favourite conditions to run in, walk in, do your activity in, or even just what are your least favourite weather conditions? Just trying to find ways to get around it, because I've realised that the wind really bothers me. You know, it really sort of upsets me from playing football many years ago to running these days. It just really annoys me, you know, and sort of it's hard whether it's in your face or behind you. Sometimes you just can't judge it. And it almost becomes resistance training, won't it? Doesn't it? Some of the guys at the running club will be like, what? At the coaching group through DOdaily will be like, what? You've thrown a bit of that training at us this week. there you go. That's how tough that is. But yeah, find it quite tough in the wind. Don't really like it. Any conditions other than that, I don't mind. Of course, when it's icy, it's difficult. You've got to be careful. You've got to be careful in the wind as well, flying objects and things like that. But I've managed to get in my activity this week, so find a way to get around it. Offered a bit of advice about running in the wind last week. Check out last Thursday's episode. But just to run through quickly some of the responses I got. At Callum Sharp says, I don't like running in strong winds or above 20 degrees. I think that's pretty much sort of mirrors what I'm like. I am a bit of a winter runner, despite the wind. I really enjoy sort of the rain and the snow and whatever the elements throw at me. Particularly if I'm not feeling great, it makes it feel even more epic. And when you've done, you can almost do anything. When it gets warm, being slightly larger than the average runner, I tend to really, really struggle. But I know when I'm feeling good in the summer, all that fitness comes, when you've done all the hard work and then you get into the warm weather training, that's when you're really working on your lungs and your breathing and you can really attack it. So whilst it is difficult, again, what I find is I get some of my best runs in when it is too hot. For whatever reason, it just suits me. I find it really hard. It feels like I'm putting in extra effort, but it's really, really tough. So thanks for that. Kay says, when it's very cold, especially if the pavements are slippery, I just don't enjoy it. Of course, I've just said there, didn't I? It's one of the conditions that makes it near on impossible to run. But I know runners being runners, people who like getting out in the outdoors, insist on doing it despite the conditions. I've been there myself, a bit sort of reluctant just to have a day off sometimes. So we have to be careful. Again, it's about finding the right areas, potentially wearing the right shoes, maybe running on grass or different sort of or sort of salty surfaces, which just might help. And that's a way to sort of get around that. But it does get really difficult. When it's really cold, it can get on your chest. But like I say, I tend to find that a little bit easier than the warm, just like Callum. So, and I know Kay, she doesn't particularly enjoy the cold whenever. So I'd expect her to say that when she's running in as well. Peter says, I don't like setting off in the rain, but if it starts whilst I'm out already, it doesn't bother me. That's pretty much how I prefer it. I will go out in the rain. I do say sort of skin's waterproof, one of my cliche catchphrases. But it's much easier to get out there in terms of motivation when it's not raining, when it's not pouring it down. If it is a bit chilly, it's just about getting going. And if that rain comes then, or if it's a bit warm and the rain comes, that's sometimes quite nice. It can just cool you down, some summer rain. So I totally understand that. I totally get it. I know there'll be people out there who really struggle when the weather conditions are bad, just like Kay, and really sort of get put off by it. So it's about finding that positive. If you do think it's going to rain and you are planning on, get out as quick as possible. And if it rains, like I say, it just feels even more epic. And then Glenn says, I'm not too keen on thunder and lightning, but I don't have a least favourite weather. Running just gives me pleasure. I wear clothes that are appropriate and I'm always glad I went. Well, that's the point, isn't it? That's the sort of positivity we need from all this. Whatever the conditions are, there's always a way. Well, there's a way. And of course, if it is absolutely ridiculous, in terms of sort of deadly ice or black ice or even thunder and lightning at times, those aren't really conditions you want to. But just getting out there makes you feel fantastic, and you can take so much. I've already said that. I love running in the rain. It refreshes me. It makes me feel like I've done something a bit extra special. But then when I go out in the heat, I realise you're probably sort of burning more calories. You're working that bit harder. You're breathing you're working on your breathing and opening up your airwaves. So there's lots of benefits to be taken from it. And just like Glenn says, wear appropriate clothing. There's diagrams out there that you can follow. I tend to run a lot in shorts and t-shirt. Tonight, actually, really cold. I actually had tracksuit bottoms on. It's not something I do very often, but I'm just sort of being careful around my injury and trying to sort of warm into things. So whilst I had a decent run, really pleased with sort of getting in a 5K under half an hour. Not record breaking, but decent. I just sort of still being careful around the conditions, and clothing's a major factor in that. So it's definitely worth considering and looking up. Thanks for the response to that, Glenn. David says, I find it really tough when it's hot, so I'll make sure I get out first thing in the morning or wait later until the evening. Another great way of getting around it. In the summer, I tend to get this question a lot. How do we run in slightly cooler conditions? It's about getting out first thing or later on. For me, as much as I'd love to be a morning runner, and I'm going to give it another go from next week, I'm putting it out there now. Definitely better in the evening, so I tend to get out later in the summer, which I'd rather get it done and dusted like most people would, have it sort of be safe in the knowledge that you've got it in the bank. So that's a great response, because again, that's a real consideration when you do have to sort of, when you're involved in challenges or streaks and you have to get it in the middle of the day because you're busy at night and you've not done it in the morning. It can be really, really tricky. And as much as the cold, the heat can make it feel particularly bad. However, just like Glenn just said, no run is ever a bad one. I don't care what anyone says. There's never a bad run. Even if it felt tough, those are the ones that are working extra hard on us and getting us to where we want to be. Sophie says, I think the wind was definitely the worst. The only weather you can't really dress for. Quite true, that really, isn't it? Not really thought of it that way. It's a good response. That there's today I kind of wore the tracksuit bottoms because of how cold it was, and it was the wind bringing it in. But it's exactly right. I've done a lot of running through these windy conditions where it has made it a bit colder. But as soon as you get going, you've got too many layers on. You've overdressed for the occasion, and again it feels particularly difficult. So a great response that. And finally, on the throwbacks, John says, I don't have a least favourite weather, but I'm really looking forward to light evenings again. Aren't we all, John? Absolutely, sort of gagging for it at the moment. This evening, getting out at 5:45, we started the session in the daylight. That was amazing. And again, you don't really notice it. A bit like the rain, when the rain comes in, you don't really notice it getting dark as you're running around. And even when we finished, it was quite a quick session, a warm up and then a 5K, and then a short walk to cool down. Even when we'd done that, it wasn't dark, if you know what I mean. It was dark, but it didn't feel like the middle of the night. There was still a bit of hustle and bustle about, and it felt like it had only just got dark. And running in the evening, as much as I said that about the morning, it's great some days, isn't it? To get home from work, it's still warm. Get your shorts on, get your t-shirt on. I love to run light. I mentioned extra layers today, but I do love to run light. Get out there, and it makes it feel like you're just sort of at ease, and you can just go out and do what you need to do at whatever pace you need to do. So thanks for all those. Absolutely brilliant. A great response to the throwback this week. It's not always easy to get information out of people, but that's been absolutely brilliant. A comment coming in here from Dawn. Running in the extreme heat with sweat running in your eyes and making them sting. Absolutely. That is tricky. That's one of the things that does me. Bit of a sweater. Again, probably because of those extra few pounds I carry as opposed to the normal runner. But that's absolutely right. It can make it tricky. Again, it's about almost wearing the right things. Perhaps wearing a cap or wearing a headband. I tend to put sunglasses on and they steam up. And I'm not great at running in sunglasses, so yeah, it can make it particularly tricky. Thanks for the response there, Dawn. Really, really appreciate that. But like I say, lots of great feedback there, lots of great response to that question. Really enjoyed that this week. Sometimes, like I say, it can be difficult getting people to feed in, but it's just giving people ideas of how we can get around it, how we can do it when we need to. If you've got any more to add, just like Dawn there, please drop them in. Like I say, keep interacting, keep getting involved. Please like the episode and, of course, subscribe. Help me get to those 500 by the end of the year. there is actually a question about that. So I've not gone too big on that at the moment. Of course, it's a big achievement. But getting into the questions, first question this week. Of course, today is the final day of COVID restrictions in the UK. Big announcement this week. I've been a little bit overshadowed by some of the sort of awful news out there right now, but I'm sure everybody knows about that. But today was the final COVID restrictions. Everything's been lifted. Masks are no longer mandatory. Social distancing. People don't have to self-isolate. And of course, whilst I've not been massively keen on talking about COVID throughout doing DOdaily, it was COVID that actually made me start doing this. The restrictions, trying to interact with the people around me and trying to expand on the offer of Do Running, which is a running club here in Nottingham, made me think of different ways I want to sort of keep doing what I'm doing, keep encouraging, keep being positive. And it was because of COVID, because of being stuck at home or stuck sort of out on my own or just with Kay, that I started this nearly 2 years ago now. Of course, me being me doesn't stop when other things change. I love to sort of get really stuck into things, and when I set my mind to something, I just love doing it. But getting back to the question, what do you think? I just think it's a great thing. For a long time now, and I'm aware that we have to be cautious. Hopefully it's learned people a lesson about hygiene, washing hands, and how they sort of act around each other. And I'm sure masks will play a big part in lots of people's life going forward. But it's got to be a good thing, hasn't it? There's got to be a point when we say we've got to move forward. A lot of the questions I've heard about COVID, I've almost been quite controversial in asking to push it. I'm not disregarding it. I'm not disbelieving it. I've encouraged people working in the NHS in my other sort of existence. I've encouraged people to get vaccines. I was pleased to get that myself, early on, but fortunate because of where I work. So it is important. And like I say, I think the biggest lesson we can learn is about hygiene and how we deal with things and people and illness. And it's changed the way people work and travel and all those things, which again, possibly aren't a bad thing. It's changed my outlook in the way I look at things. It's helped me develop a YouTube channel, which has now got 250 subscribers. I keep saying that. But yeah, it's just changed many things. But there has to come a point where we have to move forward in the life we knew as well. Everybody sort of, you can't change people sometimes who have been on this planet 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, and when you try to, it's going to cause upset and anger because you can't change that in 5 minutes, 2 months, 2 years even. It takes a lifetime to sort of create people and habits and the way things are. So I think it just has to get to this point. There'll always be people out there saying it's too soon. It doesn't matter if it's today, next month, or in a year. There'll always be people saying it's too soon. There'll always be people affected, unfortunately. And fingers crossed, nobody like this don't come back to bite me. But we have to move forward with it because that's all we can do. Nobody liked the conditions. Nobody liked the restrictions. I spoke a lot recently about how it was a little bit overwhelming. Nobody liked lockdown. Then it was overwhelming when we came out of lockdown. Then it took us a few months to adjust to being able to do everything again. And then personally, I spoke about this yesterday, felt a bit of a lull, because I'd done everything, rushed everything, and then you feel a bit tired and overwhelmed again. And now I just feel like I'm coming to the point where things have died down a lot. It's not being spoken about all the time. And I can just feel my own mental health improving a little bit. It's something that did get to me. As much as I didn't want to talk about it, I always want to be positive and forward thinking. So talking about that was not the way for me. So hopefully we can put that behind us. And I'm not saying I'd never answer another COVID question, but if I don't, I'd be particularly pleased. And that's kind of my thoughts on that. So thanks for that question. Incidentally, today, and Kay told me this before I came on, something she was doing through work, is 700 days since the first COVID restriction. I'm surprised that the media haven't picked up on that and made a big issue of it. But 700 days, that's, well, we know it's the best part of 2 years. It's only a couple of weeks off. And that would have been unthinkable 2 years ago, wouldn't it? 700 days in COVID, in COVID restrictions, when we thought it might be for a week or two or whatever. To think we've done that, but we've come through it, haven't we? We've really come through it. We've got to the other side, and we're really sort of starting to understand again relationships, being around each other, what we can do, and hopefully it's made some relationships stronger. For as much as people have missed out on time and serious big situations, it's forged relationships as well, and made things work for people. So again, it's just about taking the positives. Thanks for that question, Sarah. Particularly current today. Moving on to question 2. I said I was going to talk about it. I got a question here from Mark. Congratulations on achieving 250 subscribers. Thank you. You've said you want 500 by the end of the year. How will you go about doing that? Well, actually, and I did know this before. Come on, and Dawn's just dropped a comment. It's actually 252 now. So I'm on countdown. 248 to go by the end of the year. One of the things I'm hoping to do almost, and I've got no control over this, but because I was on 200 at the start of the year, and because I'm trying to get to 500, or I was just under 200, didn't quite hit that target by the end of December. What I'm trying to do this year is almost get one a day. If I can get one subscriber a day, it means there's a couple of days where I don't have to get a subscriber and I'm still at 500. How I go about that, I like I say, I can't control that one. There's things I can try and do to encourage it, but if I get one a day, I'll definitely at that 500. And I think at the moment we're on, what are we, 55 days of the year, and I've got 54 subscribers this year, because I was on 198, I think, when the year started. So I'm just about there. One more today will get me on target. So that's one little sort of way I'm marking it and judging it, without thinking about it too much. The subscribers thing, it's a nice thing, it helps share the videos on YouTube. It helps me sort of build my confidence and show that people are watching, and people are keen to support. And that's a big thing. Knowing you've got people on your side, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. I know sometimes I talk absolute rubbish. Not putting myself down. It's just sometimes I get it wrong, One of the reasons I did this as well was to get myself through COVID, to become a little bit more articulate, quite a quiet person, despite all the things I do when I'm not in my comfort zone. So quite loud around friends. My friends will be saying, "You're not quiet at all." But when I don't know somebody, I'm quite kind of reserved and sat back and weigh up situations. And I just wanted to be sort of a bit more out there, build my own confidence, because I've not always been the most confident. It's held me back for far too long, and I won't say kind of a regret in some senses. So what can I do about it? I can only do something about it going forward. And this is kind of way where I could initially sort of keep the offer of do running and the running clubs and advising people, but I've extended that into sort of what I do here, trying to do a vlog and explain why I do and don't do certain things, and just try and be relatable for people to pick up on. So that is kind of why I do it. And the reason I want to encourage people to sort of get involved is like for episodes like Thursday, where you can add comments, ask questions. I've not got all the answers. I go searching for them. I look on the internet. I watch other people who talk like I do, probably a little bit better than I do, to be honest. Real pros at this kind of thing. But everybody starts somewhere, don't they? I started out with 0 subscribers, and it took me a long time to get to 100. So right now, it feels quite good that they're coming a little bit quicker. They're building. I've managed to actually pick up. I get involved in other YouTube channels, mainly about football, and now I've got a little role I play in terms of commenting on Forest, my other passion, just purely because I've done this, and that's why it's important. So how will I go about it? Just keep trying to encourage people. I try not to, I try not to go with a hard sell. It is, I'll put it out there on my social media. People probably think, oh my God, here he is again. But I put a post out there today. I don't really care, because if they don't want to follow me and what I'm doing, that's up to them. There is doubters out there. I'm not going to make it about them or negative, but there's people who doubt me, and what that's just shown me is I've got a strength of character to just keep going. Just to keep doing what I want to do. There was a time when all I wanted to do was please people. That's all I want to do really these days. But I've also got a little bit more strength of character to go, well, I want something from it as well. I want to get the benefits of talking openly, talking outwardly, and sort of building my own confidence. And there's nothing wrong in that. There's lots of people who will say I do it for this reason, that reason, or whatever reason, but it doesn't matter, because I'm still here doing it every day. This is actually the 484th day, weekday I've done this. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment. There's days when I don't want to do it, just like anything in life. I'm not completely hairy-fairy, as some people might think. There's days where it really sort of, I have to fit it in. I'm disappointed with what I've done. Again, but it's just about coming back, isn't it? It's about not giving up. And that consistency will just pay off in the end. And hopefully by the numbers, by people getting involved, it's just paying off that little bit. So I've just got to keep working at the social media, keep talking about it. One of the big problems I face is when I talk about it, and I'm going to be completely honest now, because I think this is really important. And it's one of the things that bothers me at times, is when I do talk about it, people don't like it when I talk about it. I'm not talking about it to be egotistical, to be cocky, to say I do this, to say that. I'm talking about it because it's part of something I do. Just like I get involved in what other people do, spend a lot of time talking to people about their problems and their lives and what they do and how they do things. I notice around me, a lot of people get a little bit like, oh, I don't really want to talk about that. It's tough because it's part of what I do. So that one of my little things is going to be to talk about it more. That the reason I mention that is because it's part of that question. How will you go about it? I'm going to talk about it more because it's what I do. It's what I enjoy. I do it every single day. It's not a small part of my life anymore. It's something I really enjoy, and it's taken me down different paths that have really worked for me. I've met a new group of lads to go to football with, along with some existing friends, who I do that with. It's made for a really enjoyable community, and then again, like I say, picking up that work on the comments and about Forest and things like that. I'd never been able to do those things, and those two things have been a real highlight for me, so I'm really sort of pleased. So it's just a case of talking about it more, keep pushing the message on and asking people to watch it. It's as simple as that, isn't it? People, if you pay it forward sometimes, I do it on other channels. I'll share it, I'll watch it, I'll like it, I'll rewatch it. All these things I know that work to help paying it forward. And that's all I can do with them. If people can do that for me, it all comes back to you in the end, doesn't it? And whilst I'm encouraging that part of it, I realise it's got to be my hard work. I've got to get a little bit better. That's just being realistic. Again, without putting myself down, I've got to get a little bit better at what I do, how I get my message across. It's a lot more articulate up here than it is on there, believe me. I watch it back and I hear every mistake. And I know when you're listening to other people, it's not always the case. We all make mistakes when we talk and we say the wrong words and the wrong things. And generally, people know what we mean. But it kind of gets to me a little bit, when I've got it all wrong. So I've got to be better. My output's got to be better. I've got plans to extend on the Friday offering and create something for Sunday. And I need to do more part one vlogs. It works. People like them. I get good reviews on them. So I've got to make sure that happens. But again, that's hard. That's not just 10 minutes in the week. I think Kay commented on a post I put on social media saying it's not just 10 minutes of bluster, the way I termed it. On a Saturday at Parkrun, something I love, I'm out there vlogging it. People are enjoying it. So it is working. But it's still work as well on top of the enjoyment. I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm not complaining, but I've just got to keep persevering. As I always say with anything, consistency and accountability is key. If I can maintain that, hopefully And again, with some luck, with some help from you guys, with a break here and there, people getting involved, I'll get there. And again, hit a target, give myself a big pat on the back. Not ashamed to do that. Not ashamed to say I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of myself just talking on this every day, just talking outwardly. People say to me, how can you just talk for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes? It's just one of those things that I'm looking to develop and hopefully getting a little bit better at. So please, if you can, another reminder, hit that subscribe button. If you're not already subscribed, get a friend to do it. If 250 people get a friend to do it, I'm there, aren't I? Just one friend. Just I don't care how they do it. Just get them to sign up and hit that button. And don't forget to like this episode. There's people watching. I know how many should be liking it, so make sure it's done. Not really. You might not like it. You might hit the dislike, but don't be harsh. Anyway, moving on from all that. 252, by the way. Okay, says this is quite topical as well. This was something that came up in a discussion on our running WhatsApp group. Our running club WhatsApp group today. I didn't really get involved too much because I didn't want to say the wrong thing to some degree. But do you agree with Part 1 rule change which bans dogs on harnesses? I can see why there's a lot of upset. I can see why dog owners, I'm not a dog owner. Kay's a dog lover. And I'm sure one day I will have to be a dog owner because she gets her own way on most things. She's probably saying no, she doesn't, but she does. But Part 1's initial rule is dogs on a short leash. And I'm sure if people who use the harnesses around the waist and the dogs was on a short leash, it wouldn't be an issue. But I know from running at Part 1 that dogs that are on harnesses tend to be a mile in front of the owner because they've got a bit of a free rein to run. And what we've got to consider here more than anything, and this might cause some controversy, if you agree or disagree, please comment. This is what it's about. I'm not necessarily right. I'm just offering my opinion. What we've got to accept is that initial rule and the fact that Part 1 are looking out for everybody's safety. It's about safety as a whole of everybody involved. People who have the harnesses say it's safer for them to run with the dog up on the harness. I totally accept that. I've looked into it a little bit today, or I've just read what's been about. I understand that as the individual, but you've got to think as the group. Some of these Part 1s, you've got 1,500 people running, and if you've got a dog stretched out 50 yards in front of you, sometimes you don't see a dog lead when it's close to the floor and you could trip over it. And that's kind of my point on that. I don't want to get controversial. I'm sure there's lots of things that could come back off the back of that. Just a comment coming in here. Is that you saying we can get a dog? No, absolutely not. Get that dinner done. But there you go. Getting back to the question, yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? I can understand from the dog owner's point of view and how they say it's safer, but the reality is the rule was always there in the first place. Dogs must be on a short leash, and the reason for that, I feel, and the reason I would lean that way is because for me, if that dog goes rogue, you ain't going to stop it if you've got an harness on. If the dog's got the strength to pull you away, you ain't going to stop it because you ain't got arms and legs to stop you. It's just going to yank you away and it's going to take people out with it. Whereas if a dog's on a lead, as tricky as it can be, and I'm sure some dogs could still pull you off your feet, it's probably much easier to control it and rein it in than it is from your waist. So that's my reasonings for that. In all reality, I don't know too much about the whole thing. I've seen it today. I've seen the pros and cons. But my personal opinion is, for the reasons I've said, I just think the rule was there in the first place. As somebody looking in from the outside who's experienced it, I think everybody who goes to a Part 1 has experienced the fact that there's dogs, there's pushchairs, and they're absolutely entitled to be there. I'm not saying people with different circumstances or different pets or whatever, or run in different ways can't do it that way. You've just got to find a way that fits all, and that's the important thing, isn't it? At the end of the day, if I'm really honest, I don't think you can stop anybody running with it, because park run's absolutely free. I suppose they could not give them a token and a code, but running in the park with your dog is absolutely free, isn't it? So it's a tricky one. It really is. It's a great question, though, and it kind of opens up some debate, doesn't it? And again, if you've got anything to sort of add to that, whether you agree with me, disagree with me, think I'm talking absolute rubbish, on that or any of the questions, please pop it in the comments. I'd love to sort of, if I have to, revisit it and come back to it next week, or just respond to it from what you've done. If you're watching live, comment. There's still time to get involved, or just comment in the usual way, and I'll pick that up throughout the week and respond to whatever I can. So thanks for the questions, guys. Really, really enjoyed those. Real variation there, the COVID thing again, the dogs, the controversial subjects, and then a bit of nice stuff for the 250 subscribers. And on the 250 subscribers, I'm going to bring the throwback question. This is a bit of market research in reality, just finding out what works and what doesn't. And I might be limiting my market to those that watch. But again, like I say, it can be hard to get people to respond. There's a few people watching in now, so why not respond straight away? Takes 2 seconds to type a comment. Which DOdaily episode theme is your favorite? So basically, which day do you prefer? Is it Monday motivation, Tuesday trading, Wednesday workout, which often includes that part one vlog, which I've said is popular, Thursday thoughts? I know there's a few people who like this one, get involved in the live session and check in. Or is it wake up to walk on a Friday? Of course, I tried to theme that a bit more than I have recently by getting to different places, but I've not had the chance with it being winter. I'm just saying to Kay, I can start giving it some real thought again. I was out early this week, Tuesday, I think, and it was light at 6:30, or it's getting light at least. So that just gives me that extra bit of time. So I've got an hour or so before I have to sort of click into work mode and get ready for that. So it should give me an opportunity. But what's your favourite? Is it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? It's as simple as that. Like I said, there's people watching. Drop it in the comments. Drop me a like. Make sure you subscribe. And it's just a chance to get involved. And it's a chance to support, isn't it? All the support you give with your comments helps me sort of reach a new audience and get to that target, which I've already discussed at length. So once again, thank you to everyone that's been involved. Really, really enjoyed it. If you've got a question, please pop it across. The social media has been going along all throughout. Please email des@dorunning.org.uk. Received a couple of in that way in the last couple of weeks. People wanting to email me, pass on a few nice comments, leave a question, respond to the throwback. That's all it's about. It doesn't take much, does it, to feel part of something? It's just a nice way to support me, to perhaps pick up one or two ideas of what other people are doing, a little bit of inspiration from time to time to really get going and get involved in that sense. Already got one in here, probably my biggest fan of them all. Someone who likes, shares, subscribes, does everything with it every day. I like wake up to walk, learned a lot of new places to visit, and learned a lot of facts about Nottingham. Of course, I try and do that where I'm living, around where I'm living, did the Robin Hood walk. Got a new challenge in the next couple of weeks, just waiting for a little bit more time for when it takes me a bit further afield, just to be able to get out there and visit some new places again. Start following these public footpath signs and these routes that I did with the Robin Hood walk. Check that out. There'll be a link to that at the end of this video. Absolutely brilliant. Lots of episodes, lots of the same messages, as it always is on a Friday morning. There's a purpose to that, just to keep reiterating the message, just to keep reminding people that it's important to attack the day, and it doesn't have to be strenuous, serious activity. Love getting out for my runs, love getting the miles in when I can, when I'm fit and well, but you can also get them in a different way. And I learned through COVID, one of the biggest finds for me in this last 700 days, as it is, really, really enjoy getting out for a walk. I managed to get a good one in early this week with a friend I'd not seen for a while. We had a good chat. And again, it just made me feel a lot better about the fact I've not ran as much as I want to, but the momentum's picking up again, and it's all miles in the legs. It gives me a great sort of base level of fitness, and that's why I'm always encouraging that. On top of the fact, when it does get light, the benefits of getting out of bed can help with people who are struggling with sleep, struggling with mental health, of course, struggling with worries and stresses. You know, it can just give you that time to process your thoughts and attack the day and enjoy the weekend if that's your time free. You know, or just use it for whenever you do get your time free. If if you don't work on a Tuesday and Wednesday because that's your weekend, do it on a Tuesday morning, you know, because it can be a way of finding so much. Just sort of going back to the park one, the reason so many people love that and lots of comments every single Saturday is it's the best start to a weekend because you're doing something so positive and being on top of it. It's exactly what I'm doing on a Friday. Start to wind down a little bit for the weekend. Luckily, the way I work and how busy I am in the week kind of eases up around Friday lunchtime. So it's a chance for me to start sort of thinking, reflecting, and looking forward to the weekend and the following week ahead. You know, it's been a good one, guys. Thanks for all the input. Really, really appreciate it. Like I say, just 248 to go. Please subscribe now. Please check out any of the other videos. Some really good ones I'm really proud of recently. You know, a case sometimes of fitting them in, doing what I have to do, but I've done it. 488 days, 489 it is actually. It'll be 490 tomorrow, and then two more weeks before another small milestone, 500 episodes. You know, probably not that much better than I were at the start, but I think I am a little bit, and that's all that matters. Small improvement every day. If you're willing to listen, take on board advice, get involved, you know, you're doing what you have to do to make things better. Until the morning, guys, wake up to walk, 7 a.m. It'll be on sometime mid-morning. Always takes forever to load on a Friday. Just doing it.